Chapter 151, End of Tamagawa Classico. While Tsubasa was frozen at his place, furiously glaring at Shun threw the ball towards Minato to continue the game. "Tsubasa, fall back!" Ryanosuke yelled as he began to fall back. Only after hearing Ryanosuke's voice did Tsubasa came back to his senses. Hearing Ryanosuke's faint voice, Tsubasa clicked his tongue and shrugged his shoulder and began to fall back. After that counterattack from FC Tokyo, the game progressed rather intensely. With both teams pressing hard, both of the teams struggled to register a goal in the second half. Until the 87th minute of the match, the game was neck to neck. With neither side backing down, it seemed like the game was going to end with a score of 2-0. At 60th minute of the game, FC Tokyo made use of their first substitution. And at 64th minute of the match, Kawasaki 2 substituted Takeshi Ogawa for Yutaro Honda. And again in 75th minute of the game, manager Makoto used another of his substitution by substituting Tatsuki for the newcomer Renji Igarashi. Beep! Good save by Kobayashi. Until now, both the teams have failed to score any goals in the second half. But will this corner kick change the situation? At 87th minute of the match, Hiro's team was awarded a corner kick after Kobayashi made an impressive save by saving the shot made by Renji from outside the box. "You want to take the corner kick?" Walking towards Hiro, Renji asked. After witnessing Hiro's skills firsthand, Renji's pride and ego had shrunken to some extent. Before meeting Hiro, he had considered himself a prodigy. However, after witnessing Hiro's skills firsthand, his pride and ego had taken a major hit. And at that moment, he realized that either he'd have to adapt to survive, or else he'd get devoured by his own ego. Although nobody could tell the outcome of later option, he chose the former to move forward while learning from a best. Shaking his head, Hiro replied, "No, let Akihiro take the corner." "What do you think about my suggestion, Senior Kenta?" asked Hiro while looking at Kenta. After the departure of Tomiyasu, the captain armband was handed to Tatsuki. Similarly, after Tatsuki was substituted at the 75th minute, the captain armband was again handed to Kenta. His jersey soaked in sweat, while stretching his t-shirt, Kenta was blowing air in his chest from his mouth to cool himself to some extent. And just as he heard Hiro's suggestion, he stopped his act and turned his head towards Hiro. Turning his head towards Hiro, Kenta nodded his head while making an OK gesture. Then, that concludes the decision. Mumbling such, Hiro shifted his gaze behind him to look for Akihiro. Taking advantage of the momentary stoppage, Akihiro was inhaling and exhaling deep breaths to stabilize his heartbeat. "Akihiro!" shouted Hiro after finding him. Hearing his name, Akihiro lifted his head and began to look around him. Turning his head left and right, he found Hiro waving his hand, gesturing him to come over while calling his name. Without wasting any time, Akihiro then rushed towards them. "Yes, Hiro," answered Akihiro after reaching close to them. "We want you to take the corner kick." Without beating around the bush, Hiro revealed. With his pupils enlarged, Akihiro perplexingly stared at Hiro. His heart throbbing, for a few seconds, he continued to stare at Hiro without replying anything. "Are you sure?" "Like, I've never taken any set piece before." Momentarily pausing in between while replying, Akihiro replied, "Don't worry, I've seen your crosses. It'll be all right." With a smile on his face, Hiro put his hands atop Akihiro's shoulder and assured him. Locking eyes with Hiro, Akihiro's doubt started to fade away and a feeling of warmth embraced him. Akihiro then looked towards his right where Renji was standing. And as he looked at him, he found him nodding his head with a smile on his face. With a newfound motivation, Akihiro then answered, "Leave it to me. I'll make sure to deliver a good assist." Hearing Akihiro's confident response, Hiro and Renji, both of them chuckled. Accompanied by Hiro, Akihiro then began to walk towards the corner flag to take the corner kick. While on their way, Hiro whispered, "Don't cross the ball inside the penalty box. Instead, cross the ball towards the penalty arc. However, make it look like it's heading towards the penalty box." Hearing Hiro's words, once again Akihiro's eyes widened in shock. "Will it be all right?" hesitantly asked Akihiro after hearing Hiro's impulsive strategy. After all, the probability of scoring was more inside the penalty box than outside the box. Thus, Akihiro couldn't understand why Hiro was suggesting such reckless strategy. "Don't worry, trust in me. I'll fill you with details later," answered Hiro with a solemn expression on his face. Although Akihiro was still confused by Hiro's suggested strategy. Even so, Akihiro reluctantly accepted Hiro's request. After that, Akihiro left toward the corner flag, and Hiro rushed back to the penalty box. Since it might be the last set piece of the match, I'm sure that almost every player of FC Tokyo will get clustered inside the box, which in turn will decrease our chance to score. So right now, thinking outside the box is our best option to score, thought Hiro while looking at the direction of Akihiro. Akihiro then prepared himself to take the corner kick. Taking a final glance at the players in front of him, Akihiro rushed towards the ball. Akihiro then did as he was instructed by Hiro. While kicking the ball towards the penalty box, he added a spin on the ball. Everybody inside the box were anticipating for the ball. Pushing each other, every player inside the box were desperate to get a touch on the ball. Sweaty bodies of players colliding with each other, everybody's eyes were focused on the ball. And for a while it seemed like the ball was heading towards their direction. However, only one player was performing quite opposite to the rest. Instead of making his run inwards, he was running outwards. Completely engrossed in the battle for the ball, nobody noticed him. Because of the spin on the ball curved and headed towards the edge of the penalty box. And before anybody could even notice the spin on the ball, it was already late. Jumping up from the ground, Hiro leaped upwards. Extending his leg in mid-air, Hiro kicked the ball, in turn performing a bicycle kick. Completely unobstructed, the ball flew towards the post. Thud! Hiro landed on his back after hitting the ball. Go all gall! Go all gall! Rising from their seats, fans of Kawasaki began to celebrate Hiro's goal. Chapter 152, Upsetting the Away Fans. Just as the ball crossed the goal line and touched the net, fans present in the stadium ecstatically stood up from their seats and began to cheer while jumping and hugging each other. Yeah, gulo all, followed by thunderous sound of cheers, as if some kind of festival was taking place in the stadium. The tense atmosphere in the stadium during the time when the ball was still levitating in the air suddenly changed into festive mood. Tanaka, that's one of the best goals I've seen in my entire life. His eyes brimming with joy. One of the elderly fan of Kawasaki looked at his companion and stated ecstatically while celebrating Hiro's goal. His companion, who was also brimming with joy, looked at him with a big wide smile on his face and mumbled while nodding his head, I agree. It reminded me of the goal Rooney scored in 2011 in one of the Manchester Derby. Continued Tanaka, an elderly fan of Kawasaki who looked like he was already in his 60s. Majestic, magnificent, brilliant. I can't stop exaggerating. That goal was simply out of this world. Almost 20 yards away from the post, and yet he scored a magnificent bicycle kick from that far. Just how did he manage to do that? Holding the microphone close to his mouth, the commentator commented, cheerfully. Droplets of saliva was spitting all over the microphone while the commentator was making his comment. However, he didn't give a damn at all. Hearing the loud cheers of the fan, Hiro didn't need to look back to confirm if he had scored the goal. Just by listening to their cheers, he could tell that he had scored the goal. And thus, without looking back, Hiro rose from the ground and launched himself towards the section of the stand where the fans of FC Tokyo were gathered. What's this? Why is running away like that? Does he now want to celebrate his goal with his teammates? Questioned the commentator while perplexingly looking at the sight of Hiro running away. Although his teammates couldn't tell why he was running away instead of celebrating the goal with them, they still followed him to celebrate the goal. Especially Akihiro, who was still doubting Hiro's reckless strategy until the moment he witnessed the ball crossing the goal line, sprinted towards Hiro as fast as he could to apologize for doubting him. However, without waiting for anyone, Hiro continued to make his run towards the section of the stand where the fans of FC Tokyo were gathered. And since he had already memorized the location of the stand with the most fans when he had received the quest from the system, He didn't need to waste his time to search for the stand. Arriving at the location, he took off his jersey. After that, he pointed his jersey at the fans of FC Tokyo, intentionally showing the back of his jersey to the fans of FC Tokyo. Ho ho. So that's what he was going to do. I'm pretty sure that fans of FC Tokyo are very pissed with Hiro's celebratory gesture. While making such comments, commentator chuckled. "Show your jersey to your fans, you arrogant prick," grumpily shouted one of the fans of FC Tokyo while furrowing his brows in anger. Fuming with anger, another fan of FC Tokyo yelled, "We'll pay you back in our home ground." Although the loud cheers of fans of Kawasaki was canceling much of the noise coming from the stands of fans of FC Tokyo, Hiro could still faintly hear their angry grunts. Hearing their backlashes, it made him question about his celebratory act. Perhaps it was a bad decision to celebrate like this. But it's not like I've had a choice. I was forced by the system. So please don't hate me. Although the fans of FC Tokyo were pissed by Hiro's celebration, players of FC Tokyo were even more pissed. Biting their lips, some of the players of FC Tokyo were glaring at Hiro as if they would kill him. Quest completed. While he was thinking, Hiro heard the notification of quest completion from his system. Hearing the notification of the system, he let out a subtle smile and meekly mumbled, "I hope it's worth the risk." Just then his teammates came rushing towards him and jumped atop him. "You cheeky bastard," commented Nakahara while rubbing Hiro's hair. After celebrating for a while, everybody went back to their original position to resume the match. With only 3 minutes remaining, one could say that the game was almost over. However, there was still some extra time remaining. And there's a saying in football that every second counts in football. Thus, even though it didn't seem much, anything could happen in that remaining time. Beep, beep, beep. And the game has finally ended with a score of 3-0. Kawasaki Frontale U18. 3 in FC Tokyo U18. 0. Commentator announced the end of the game after hearing the final whistle of the referee. After the end of the full time, the referee added 5 minutes extra. However, even in that 8 minutes, FC Tokyo still couldn't manage to change the outcome of the game, let alone change the outcome of the match. They couldn't even score a consolidation goal. Although first half was quite disappointing for FC Tokyo, they still managed to display an amazing performance in the second half. And even though the outcome of the game didn't favor them, regardless of the outcome, they played an amazing game. So let us all give them a round of applause for their efforts. Clap, clap, clap. Don't worry, guys. We'll get our revenge on them in our home turf, shouted few of the fans of FC Tokyo while trying to encourage their players. After that, both the teams lined up for exchanging handshakes to pay respect to each other. And after exchanging handshakes with their opponents, Hiro and his teammates walked towards the stand where the fans of Kawasaki were seated. Bowing their heads, they expressed their thankfulness for their support. Clap, clap, clap. Well played, guys. Well played. Good game. Chapter 153, Aomori's Ace. April 7th, Thursday, 2022. Spreading its warm rays across the surface, morning sun was shining brilliantly, occupying few vacant spots. Fluffy white clouds of different shapes and sizes were also drifting freely in the blue sky. Chirp, chirp. Basking in the morning sun, few small birds were chirping while sitting in the branches of trees planted in the roadside. That day's morning was rather peaceful and dreamy, until a silhouette of a boy appeared in one end of the road. Fair-skinned, sharp nose, thick brows, his medium-long black hair was covering most of his forehead. Beads of sweats formed in his temple were all merging together and running down his face while he was pedaling his bicycle. Shit, I'm going to be late for the training. As if he was in some kind of rush, he thought while pedaling his bicycle. Despite panting heavily, his eyes didn't show any signs of exhaustion and looked rather full of energy. However, as if something was troubling him, he looked rather anxious and panicked. If I don't reach the training ground in time today, Coach will definitely eat me alive. Thinking of his coach, a shiver ran down his spine. No, I won't get late, shouted the boy as he began to pedal harder. His loud voice, which came out of nowhere, scared the nearby birds sitting in the trees. Fluttering their wings, they all flew away after hearing his voice. Finally, after about 5 minutes of bike ride, he arrived in front of school gate. Atop the gate was a banner which read as such, Aomori Yamada High School. Huff, huff. Pausing his bicycle, he stood in front of the huge metal gate to catch his breath. Looking to his left and right, he began to search for people. Am I the last one to arrive? Unable to find anybody around him, he questioned to himself. Sigh. Seems like I'll be running laps again. Heaving a pitiful sigh, he mumbled. After that, he headed inside the school. Parking his bicycle in a hurry, he grabbed his bag and began to run. Running towards a building, which was just in front of a football pitch, he entered the building. What took you so long today, Takumi? A fair-skinned, black-haired boy questioned the boy from before just as he entered the football pitch after getting changed. I stood up late watching football yesterday, replied Takumi with an awkward smile on his face. What about yesterday's Tamagawa Classico? Asked the boy after hearing Takumi's response. We won't be facing either of them until next week. So why bother watching them now? Acting uninterested, Takumi shrugged. The guy whom I mentioned to you previously. Also the guy who's leading the goal-scoring chart in this year's Takamoto Premier League. He scored yet another 2 goals in yesterday's match. Responded the black-haired dude in front of him. So what if he scored 2 more goals? I'll catch up to him in no time. Sounding a little arrogant, Takumi replied. In only 2 matches, he has scored 6 goals. Mumbled the guy in front of him. 6 goals, lifting 6 fingers and showing it to Takumi, he repeated. Hearing the words said by the guy in front, his face flushed and he hurriedly replied, I too have 3 goals under my name. And if I score 3 goals in tomorrow's match, I'll tie with him in no time. Noticing his flushed face, the guy in front smiled and said, yeah, you can score a hat-trick. After all, you're our ace. But anyway, do you want to watch some highlights of yesterday's Tamagawa Classico? Continued the black-haired guy. Are you out of your mind, Reichi? The coach will kill us. Takumi exasperated. Ha ha, look around you. Reichi replied while laughing. The coach hasn't arrived yet. Hearing Reichi's words, Takumi began to look around the pitch. Looking around the pitch, he couldn't find his coach in the field. And as mentioned by Reichi, he found that his team's coach hadn't actually arrived yet. Sigh. At first, he breathed a sigh of relief after failing to find his coach since he won't have to run laps for arriving last. Then again, he questioned, why has he not arrived yet? He has never gotten late before. I'm not sure. Shaking his head, Reichi replied. So, do you still want to watch the highlights? Continued Reichi. Well, let's watch it. Nodding his head, Takumi answered. Wait a bit. I'll go fetch my phone. Saying such, Reichi left the field in a hurry. Lying in his bed, Hiro was blankly staring at the ceiling above him. Is Tomoyasu all right? He didn't look fine to me. And the coaches haven't told us anything either. While thinking of the injury which Tomoyasu suffered in yesterday's match, Hiro pondered with a worried look on his face. That bastard Tsubasa. How could he laugh after injuring someone to that extent? Gnashing his teeth, Hiro mumbled while remembering the moment where he witnessed Tsubasa's crooked smile. Sigh. But what can we even do? It's not like I can go and beat him. Inhaling a deep breath, Hiro let go of his anger. Hiro then rose from his bed and began to stretch his body. Although it's a good thing we don't have any morning training today, but it's still kind of boring to lay in bed, mumbled Hiro while stretching his legs. How did I turn up like this? I used to love sleeping back then. What happened to the old me? Thinking about his past self, Hiro mumbled. Maybe I'm changing. Hiro guessed. All right, I should use that silver ticket which I've got from yesterday's quest. System activate. System activated. Leafing through the holographic blue screen, Hiro directly headed towards the roulette section. You have 1 silver ticket available. Do you want to use it? Confirm. Cancel. Confirm. Pressing on the confirm, he waited patiently for his reward. The roulette wheel then spun for a while, and after a few seconds it landed in one of the cards. Congratulations, host has obtained skill lightning steps. Skill lightning steps. Skill description. The host can achieve his top acceleration immediately without needing any extra movements. Skill duration, 8 seconds. CD, 30 minutes. Chapter 154 Highlights of the match. Drawing up such an amazing skill, Hiro couldn't help but stare at the screen with his eyes wide open. can achieve top acceleration without any extra movements. Brimming with joy, Hiro repeated the words displayed in the screen in front of him. I can't help but wonder what kind of faces will the opponents make when they see me go from 0 kilometers per hour to my top acceleration without needing any extra run-ups. Thinking about the usage of the skills, Hiro subconsciously curled his lips and displayed a sinister smile on his face. Even for speedster players like Mbappe and Haaland, they would still require few seconds to attain their maximum speed. But to directly go from 0 kilometers per hour to 29 kilometers per hour, which was Hiro's top speed at the moment, it was simply a game-changing skill. Naturally speaking, his skill was totally out of logic, which defied the laws of physics. After all, it's simply impossible to go from 0 to 30 without any run-ups. While thinking of the usage of the skill, suddenly a thought flashed inside his head. What if my top speed increases? Will the skill still work? Yes, regardless of your top acceleration. As long as you use the skill, you can reap the benefits of the skill. However, do keep your physicality into consideration. After all, you are still only human and your muscles do need rest. So it's suggested that you don't use this skill multiple times in the game, or else an injury is unavoidable. Answering to the doubts of Hiro, the system suggested him to not use the skill multiple times in one game. Nodding his head, Hiro began to rub his chin while thinking about the suggestion made by the system. Indeed, if I spam this skill continuously, then my body might not be able to handle the toll it would exert on my muscles. After all, it's a common sight in footballing world that players who rely on their speed are the ones who get injured the most. So I must be careful while using this skill. I must only use it as a trump card. Mumbled Hiro after thinking of the consequences he'd have to suffer for using that skill. Comfortably sitting in his chair, a blonde-haired guy was staring at his laptop placed atop his immaculate wooden table. Go! Go! Goal! Shouted the blonde-haired guy while jumping up from his chair in ecstasy. Knock! Knock! Just as he shouted goal, he heard a knock on his office door. Hearing the knock on the door, he paused his celebration and began to tidy his clothes and fix his tie. He was wearing casual navy blue pants, white shirt layered with navy blue color blazer, which matched his pants, and a plain black colored tie. Fixing his tie, he sat down in his chair and answered after clearing his throat, "Yes, please come in," with a solemn expression on his face. Opening the door, a muscular tan-skinned guy probably in his late 20s who was dressed in a blue jeans and plain white t-shirt entered the room. Seeing the sight of the man in front, the blonde guy released a sigh of relief and replied in a casual manner, "It's you, Lucas." Putting up a big wide smile, Lucas answered casually, as if he was talking to one of his close associates. "Haha, did I scare you, Eric? You did scare me. I thought it was my secretary, Sophia. I still haven't completed reading these papers." Pointing towards the pile of papers placed atop his table, Eric mumbled, "Ha! Seems like even one of the top agents in Europe is afraid of something." Letting out a hearty laughter, Lucas commented, "All right, I heard you screaming goal a moment ago from outside the door. What were you watching, Eric?" Continued Lucas. Just as Lucas mentioned about the goal, Eric's face brightened. Eric then rotated the screen of his laptop towards Lucas. With a smile on his face, he proudly mumbled, "I was watching this," while pointing his finger at the screen. While trying to read the title, Lucas knitted his brows and answered looking all confused, "I can't understand it. Is it Japanese? Sorry about that. Let me read it to you then." Apologizing to Lucas, Eric began to read, "Prince Takamoto Premier League. Kawasaki versus Tokyo." Hearing Eric's translation, Lucas nodded his head and answered, "Among these two teams, which one does that Japanese boy play for? You could decide it by yourself after looking at this video." Letting Lucas guess the club Hiro was playing for, Eric restarted the video. Although Japanese Football Association hadn't put a full video in YouTube, they had still put a highlight video by compiling some of interesting moments which took place in the match for marketing purposes. While looking at the video, Lucas sulked his upper body to get a better view. Keeping his gaze fixated at the screen of laptop, Lucas looked like a sage who was lost in her meditation. And although he couldn't get what the commentator was saying, he could still understand how the players were playing. After all, football required no language. Damn, that's a good goal, mumbled Lucas while witnessing Hiro's first goal of the match. If you think that's amazing, then I wonder what kind of reaction will you make later. Softly mumbled Eric in his muffled voice. Did you say something? Questioned Lucas. Shaking his head, Eric shrugged and tried to reshift Lucas' attention on the screen. Let's continue watching. The game will get more interesting. Nodding his head, Lucas shifted his attention toward the screen once again. While he was watching, the part where Hiro let go of the ball for Tatsuki started playing. Don't make that shot, subconsciously mumbled Eric while clenching his fist. Totally engrossed in the video, Lucas was on his toes, ready to jump out of his seat. Phew! Releasing a sigh of relief, Lucas relaxed his body just as he witnessed Hiro letting go of the ball. Just when he was relaxing, he heard the roars of the fans and commentator, Golo Olo. Looking all surprised, he immediately shifted his focus on the screen, only to find the ball inside the net. They scored? Who scored the goal? When releasing a sigh of relief, he had drifted his attention away from the screen for a short while. And in that momentary distraction, he missed the shot of Tatsuki. You should pay attention, Lucas. I'll rewind the video. Suggesting Lucas to pay attention, Eric then rewinded the video. Leaning his body closer to the laptop, Lucas stared at the screen. Chapter 155, Rumors Floating in Classroom. Completely focused at the video playing in front of him, Lucas started to stare at the screen without blinking his eyes. In the video, just after Hiro let go of the ball, Tatsuki approached the ball from behind Hiro and shot the ball towards the post. Damn, if I didn't notice that boy who scored the goal. I must say, he's got an amazing vision. Analyzing the play leading to the goal, Lucas began to praise Hiro. Hearing Lucas's analysis, Eric lifted the corner of his mouth and smiled. As if he was satisfied with Lucas's response, Eric chuckled inwardly. Just how old did you say he is? Questioned Lucas while shifting his gaze towards Eric. And just as he turned towards Eric, Lucas found Eric smiling creepily. Looking at Eric's creepy smile, Lucas questioned while contorting his face, "Why are you smiling like that?" Quickly changing his facial expression, Eric answered hurriedly, "Smiling like what? What's wrong with my smile?" "You're smiling like those greedy club directors whenever they see an amazing talent come out from their academy." Lucas answered earnestly, "Well, you're an agent as well, so you too would want your players to perform well so that you could fetch a higher price for your players," continued Lucas. Eric coughed after hearing Lucas's words. "I'm still standing right here, you know. That's why I said that. Don't tell me that you hate money now." "Ha ha ha." Lucas chuckled while replying. Hearing Lucas's response, Eric's face flushed. As if Lucas had exposed his true face, Eric turned totally speechless. Seeing Eric's speechless face, Lucas let out a hearty laughter. "Ha ha. Don't worry, Eric. It's completely natural. After all, who in the world would hate money?" Hearing Lucas's maniacal laughter, Eric started to get annoyed. Out of annoyance, Eric then tried to change the topic of their conversation. "Let's continue watching the game." While still laughing, Lucas answered, Okay, let's do that." After that, the two of them continued to watch the highlight video of Tamagawa Classico. Just like chameleon changing its color, Lucas's facial expression changed countless times while watching the video. Finally, after about 2 minutes, Lucas broke his silence. "Seems like the game will end with this score. I have to say, the opposing team played pretty well in the second half." Letting out a pretentious robotical laughter while pausing the video, Eric mumbled while making a smug expression, "Be prepared to get shocked." Has he lost his mind? Thought Lucas after hearing Eric's words. After finishing his sentence, Eric then resumed the video. His brows raised, his pupils enlarged, and his mouth agape. Lucas was seated in his seat, completely speechless while staring at the screen in front of him. Witnessing Lucas's expression, Eric questioned, "So how was the surprise?" "Out of this world," subconsciously answered Lucas while still staring at the screen. Inside a classroom, groups of students were gathered in one of the seats beside the window. "Damn, I swear when I was watching that video, I saw a glimpse of Cristiano Ronaldo on the pitch." One of the students exaggerated. I guess he only remembered that bicycle kick from the match. Answered another guy with glasses while adjusting his glasses. And just as the guy with the glasses mentioned such, the face of the previous guy flushed. Gritting his teeth, he shouted, "I watched the whole game." Another guy, standing beside him, patted his back and tried to calm him down. "Don't get worked up, Wasaki. Tora is only teasing you." The guy with the glasses then nodded his head and answered with a smile on his face. "Yeah, you sure is right. I'm only teasing you, Wasaki. We all know how much you like watching football. There's no one in our group who's crazier for football as much as you are." While saying such, Tora paused all of a sudden and looked at the seat at the fourth row, apart from the guy who sits there. That seat belonged to Hiro, and the aforementioned person was also Hiro. "Yeah, I heard that even before he started to walk, he started to play with the ball," answered another guy who was standing behind Tora. Hearing his words, the three guys who were gathered around him burst out into laughter. "Ha ha, it's only a rumor. There's no way anyone could do that," Yusha replied while laughing. Just when they were laughing and joking with each other, a somewhat obese guy with straight hair approached them. "What's making you laugh like this?" questioned the obese guy. "Oh, Rin, it's you," answered Wasaki while looking at the sight of Rin. "It's nothing much. We were just talking about Hiro," answered Yusha. Since being friends with Hiro, the topic of Hiro always used to pique his interest. Thus at that time, too, hearing the name of Hiro got him curious. Curious about what they were talking about his friend, Rin asked, "Oh, what were you all talking about him?" "Just some rumors," answered Tora while still laughing. "What kind of rumors?" Rin asked casually. Without thinking of the consequences, Wasaki answered with a smile on his face, "I don't know the source of rumor, but I heard from someone that while Hiro was still a child, he used to be so obsessed with training that he literally trained like Saitama from the manga One Punch Man." Nodding his head, Rin answered casually without any changes in his facial expression. "Yeah, that's right. He did mention that he used to train like that. Waking up at 5 in the morning, he used to do all those sets of training drills. Half in the morning and other half in the evening." Hearing Rin's response and seeing how serious Rin looked, everybody around Rin turned completely speechless. Their smiles faded away and their facial expression changed. All of a sudden, the atmosphere around them started to feel heavy. Gulping his saliva, Wasaki nervously asked, "So you're saying that those exaggerated rumors are true?" Drifting his gaze upwards, as if he was trying to think of something, Rin answered, "I'm not sure about all those rumors. Like the one where someone said that sometimes he talks to himself while making faces. Or the ones where he sometimes seemed like he's talking to ghosts. Or those ones stating that he's possessed." Chapter 156, 1 verses 1. Half sunken in the west horizon, sun was about to set. Fluffy clouds which were floating in the west sky was glowing bright orange, reflecting the light of the setting sun. Taking a quick glance at the dreamy sky, Hiro, who was dressed in a comfortable tracksuit, pushed open the gates of the U18 pitch. The usually crowded pitch was somewhat empty that evening. With only few players in the pitch, sounds of ball clashing against the metal mesh fence could be heard from time to time. In one of the goalposts, Tatsuki was practicing his shooting. Holding his cleats in his hand, Hiro entered the pitch. Sweat dripping from his face, completely unaware of Hiro's presence, Tatsuki glanced at the post in front while letting out a deep breath. Shun, who was accompanying Tatsuki by acting as the shot stopper, cracked his knuckles while staring at the ball. Just then, taking a large step sideways, he jumped towards the top right corner of the post while stretching his arms. Barely managing to land a touch on the ball, he fell down on the ground. Clap, clap, clap. While trying to pick him up, Shun heard clapping sound. Looking at his left, he found Hiro clapping his hand with a bright smile on his face. And just as he looked towards the direction of Hiro, Hiro spoke in a cheerful voice while moving towards him. "Bravo! Very!" Hearing Hiro's praises, Shun's face flushed. Shun then picked himself up and began to walk towards Hiro. "Sometimes your playstyle reminds me of someone," spoke Hiro while walking towards Shun. "Although he's a lot shorter than you in terms of height," thought Hiro inwardly. "Then that person must be an amazing keeper." While saying such, he widened his mouth and let out a grin. After that, he proudly mumbled, "Just like me, while pointing his thumb toward himself. Yeah, yeah, you played well in yesterday's match. Saying such, Hiro shrugged. Thank you for your praises. Shun casually thanked Hiro for his praises while pretending a smile on his face. Shun then sighed and continued, but you stole the limelight once again with your bicycle kick. If it weren't for Shun's impressive saves, Hiro's team would have easily conceded more than 2 goals in the second half of the game. However, despite making such game-changing saves, Shun's achievement in his debut match was overshadowed by Hiro's performance. And although he was happy for his friend, there was still a part of him which yearned for the fame and recognition for himself as well. After all, being a footballer, Shun too wanted people to recognize him. Rushing towards Hiro, Tatsuki arrived at the spot where Hiro and Shun were conversing. After arriving at the spot, he spoke while nodding his head. Indeed, this little rascal always ends up stealing the limelight. You should think of your seniors as well. They continued to joke around for some time. And besides the 3 of them, no one else was on the pitch. Hasn't the coach ordered you to rest? So what are you doing here? Asked Tatsuki while sounding like an old man. I'm pretty sure that the coach said it to everyone, so I could ask you the same question as well. Hiro countered. Hearing Hiro's response, Tatsuki turned speechless. Having nothing to reply, he began to nervously scratch his scalp. To ease Tatsuki, Hiro replied while smiling. Just like you too. I'm here to train as well. Oh, is that so? Ha ha ha. Letting out an awkward laughter, Tatsuki nodded his head. All right, I can test the new skill on him, thought Hiro while looking at Tatsuki. Senior Tatsuki. Hiro called out Tatsuki's name while he was still laughing. Yes. Looking at Hiro with a puzzled look on his face, Tatsuki answered. Can you help me with something? Yeah. What do you want me to do? Sounding somewhat hesitant, Tatsuki questioned while agreeing to his request. I want to test something, so can you defend against me for a while? Hiro presented his request. Hearing Hiro's request, Tatsuki's eyes glowed with determination. As if he saw that request as an opportunity to humble Hiro, Tatsuki agreed to his request immediately. Why not? Let's do it. Forgetting that Hiro was a dribbler, Tatsuki spurted out without thinking. Blinded by his desire to teach Hiro a lesson for stealing his spotlight, Tatsuki agreed to Hiro's request. And from the moment he accepted Hiro's request, he began to strategize his plans to stop Hiro. In yesterday's match, he was manhandled by Riwi Asada, so I should make use of my physicality if I want to stop him, thought Tatsuki while trying to come up with a strategy to defend against Hiro. After Tatsuki accepted Hiro's request, Hiro went towards the sideline to get changed. And since he was already wearing shorts inside his trousers, he was only required to take off his trousers to get ready. Taking off his trouser, he unzipped his jacket and tossed both the trouser and jacket to the sideline. After that, he put on his cleats and rushed towards the pitch. While stretching his legs, he walked towards the spot where Tatsuki was standing looking completely lost. Senior Tatsuki will play best of 5. Are you okay with it? Questioned Hiro after closing in to Tatsuki. Hiro's words broke Tatsuki's reverie. Coming out of his reverie, his body jerked a little subconsciously. Coming back to his senses, Tatsuki looked blankly at Hiro. Are you ready, Senior Tatsuki? Questioned Hiro while preparing to launch himself. Tatsuki nodded his head and answered, Yes, come at me with all your might. I won't use the skill right away. I'll try to dribble past him normally without using any skill for first few times. Thinking such, Hiro began to dribble the ball toward Tatsuki. Calm and composed, Tatsuki began to analyze Hiro's movements while maintaining his position. Step, step, step. After analyzing Hiro's movements, Tatsuki slowly walked towards Hiro. Tatsuki's strategy was quite simple. He simply wanted to catch Hiro off guard. Intentionally making it seem like he was in no rush, Tatsuki devised a plan where he would suddenly rush towards Hiro to catch him off guard. As planned, Tatsuki first approached Hiro slowly, but just as he got close to Hiro, he accelerated and lunged towards Hiro. Quickly evading Tatsuki's feet, Hiro lightly tapped the ball and nutmegged Tatsuki as if it wasn't a big deal. After sending the ball between Tatsuki's legs, Hiro accelerated towards the goalpost. Hiro then shot the ball from outside the box towards the post. Shun reacted quickly, and instead of diving sideways, he changed his angle a bit by 15 degrees to touch the ball while it was still relatively lower. Chapter 1, 57 Ball Sense. Reacting quickly, Shun managed to block Hiro's shot. After making that save, Shun rose from the ground. With his mouth twitching as if he was having a hard time holding back his laughter, he looked at the direction of Hiro. Acting as if he had made an important game-changing save, Shun then began to dance weirdly, while mumbling, "Ha ha ha. Oh yeah, I stopped your shot. I saved your shot," while laughing like a maniac. Without paying any attention to Shun, Hiro ignored Shun's celebratory taunts and turned towards Tatsuki. "Since technically I got past you, should we count it as my win, Senior Tatsuki?" asked Hiro while looking at Tatsuki. Just as Tatsuki was about to reply, Shun interjected, "But you still failed to score. So it's your loss." Hearing Shun's response, Hiro responded peacefully while nodding his head. "Then it's my first loss, which means I'm down 1-0. After that, Hiro turned around to face Shun. Staring at him, Hiro asked, "Could you fetch me that ball?" Asking such, Hiro began to walk away. "Damn, he nutmegged me. It's freaking embarrassing." Thinking such, Tatsuki began to make faces. And just as Hiro got into his position, Shun kicked the ball towards him. Gently stretching his right leg forward, Hiro trapped the ball in his leg without letting it touch the floor. Witnessing Hiro's impressive first touch, Shun's eyes widened as he mumbled, "Damn, that touch." Tatsuki, who was trying to come up with a strategy to stop Hiro, couldn't stop his jaw from dropping deep, while looking at Hiro's impressive ball control. "Is he doing that intentionally to scare me?" mumbled Tatsuki under his breath, looking all impressed. "Senior Tatsuki, are you ready for the second round?" questioned Hiro while casually juggling the ball. "It's no time to act impressed, Tatsuki." Mumbling such under his breath, Tatsuki answered, "Yes, let's do it. This time I'll just give my all and confront him head-on." Thinking such, Tatsuki looked at the direction of Hiro with determined eyes. Hiro then began to dribble the ball towards Tatsuki. Unlike his previous attempt, he was dribbling rather slowly. As if he was taking a stroll on the park, he was walking with the ball. "Is he underestimating me?" thought Tatsuki after seeing Hiro's gesture. "Then I'll make you pay. You shouldn't underestimate your senior." Thinking such, Tatsuki dashed towards Hiro. System activates skill, lightning steps. Activating the skill, Hiro went from 0 km/h to 29 km/h in an instant. Swoosh! Tatsuki, who was dashing towards Hiro, couldn't even react. He could only feel a gust of wind passing by him. Still looking in front with a stupefied look on his face, Tatsuki's mind went completely blank for a moment. Tatsuki was caught off guard. He had never anticipated Hiro to go that fast in that short amount of time. WTF? How could someone sprint that fast without any run-ups? Anxiously thought Shun, while looking at the scene which took place in front of him. Still in his top speed, Hiro approached the goalpost in just mere seconds. And once again, he shot the ball from outside the box. TCH, I hit the wrong spot. Clicking his tongue, Hiro thought just after he released the ball from his feet. Because of his insane speed, he lost control and couldn't hit the ball at the spot where he wanted to hit. After all, to hit the ball while still in their top acceleration was a difficult feat to pull off. And most often speedy players would often slow down their acceleration before shooting. And even for the world-class players like Mbappe and Haaland, they had to go through rigorous training to perfect their techniques. And Hiro, who was only starting to venture in such playstyle, lacked the technique he required to pull off such shots. Obtaining the talent Kevin De Bruyne's passing sense, which had also increased his spatial awareness, he had developed a feel for the ball. And because of that, he could somewhat guess if his touch was bad or good. Just like how world-class players had developed a feel for the ball after spending thousands and thousands of minutes with the ball, he too had developed a feel for the ball because of the talent he acquired via the system. Despite reacting late, Shun leaped towards the direction of the ball, attempting to save the ball. However, unlike the previous time, he couldn't land a touch on the ball that time around. Disappointed that he failed to make the save, he slowly turned behind him while expecting the ball inside the net. However, contrary to his expectation, the ball was actually at the sidelines instead. Evading Shun's reach, the ball simply flew away and missed the goalpost. Seeing the ball at the sidelines, Shun released a sigh of relief, phew, while crossing his right hand on his chest. 2-0, proudly mumbled Shun while turning towards disappointed Hiro. Clicking his tongue, Hiro turned around and returned back to his original position without replying anything. After that, in the next 3 rounds, Hiro slotted each and every ball without any mistake. Tatsuki, who was supposed to defend against Hiro, couldn't even manage to get close to the ball. And the more Hiro dribbled past him, the more dispirited he got. At the end of round 4, Tatsuki felt so humiliated that he didn't even try to defend the ball in the final round. Letting Hiro lose, he simply stood at his place. I guess with this goal, we can conclude that it's my victory, mumbled Hiro after scoring the final goal. Tatsuki's eyes seemed like it lost the light in it. Looking completely dull and lifeless, Tatsuki stood frozen in his place without replying anything. Maybe I've gone a little too far, thought Hiro while looking at the sight of Tatsuki. Hiro then went over to the side of Tatsuki to cheer him up. Cheer up, Senior Tatsuki. If I was in your spot, I would have been the same as well. After all, we both play forward, so it's completely natural for us to be bad at defending. Saying such, Hiro tried to cheer Tatsuki. Tatsuki, on the other hand, continued to sulk his head. Blankly staring at his feet, he looked like someone whose vitality has been sucked. Unable to cheer Tatsuki with his words, Hiro suggested to change the role. Why don't you be the attacker this time, and I'll be the defender? Suggesting such, he proposed Tatsuki to switch the role and continue the training. Dispiritedly, Tatsuki agreed to Hiro's suggestion. And for the next 5 rounds, Hiro simply let go of Tatsuki. Faking his defending skills, he acted as if he couldn't match up with Tatsuki's dribbling to cheer Tatsuki. Although at times he couldn't defend, he could have still defended 1 or 2 times if he had tried. However, just to restore Tatsuki's confidence, he acted lame. Chapter 158, Reckless Skill. By the time the 3 of them finished their solo training, the sun had already settled down. Stars visible in the dark night sky above, floodlights of the pitch had been turned on for better visibility. And even though it was springtime, the surrounding air had gotten somewhat chilly as compared to daytime. Their jerseys completely drenched in sweat, Tatsuki and Shun, both of them looked completely exhausted and out of breath. Shun, who had dived for more than 60, 70 times, was moaning in pain while pressing his sore wings and joints while resting on the ground. Ow, ow, ow. Coach will kill me if he finds out that I overtrained myself today. Changing his gaze towards the direction of Hiro and Tatsuki, Shun sneered. And it's all because of you two. Hearing Shun's complaints, Tatsuki, who was unlacing his cleats, lifted his head and looked at the direction of Hiro, who was still juggling the ball while sitting on the ground. Smiling, Tatsuki answered, "Perhaps you should say it to him." Turning his gaze towards Hiro, Shun exhaled a deep breath and sighed, "Huff. Oi, Hiro, how long are you planning on staying on the pitch? Don't you want to head back?" questioned Shun while looking at the direction of Hiro. "Bounce, bounce, bounce. You two, head back first," answered Hiro while juggling the ball. "Oh, cool me. After I finish 200 more juggles." Hearing Hiro's response, Tatsuki chuckled. "Ha, leave him be." Saying such, Tatsuki stood up and continued. "Let's head back first. He'll come back after he finishes his drill." Hearing Tatsuki's suggestion, Shun nodded his head and submissively replied, "Yeah, let's head back first." Replying such, Shun tried to stand up. But just as he tried to stand up, he felt a sharp pain in his ankle. And because of the pain, he wobbled and nearly fell down. Reacting quickly, Tatsuki grabbed Shun before he fell down. And if not for Tatsuki's quick reaction, Shun would have fallen on the ground. Witnessing Shun's pitiful sight, Hiro too stopped his actions. Grabbing Shun, Tatsuki asked while making a worried expression, "Careful. Did you injure yourself?" Locking his hand atop Tatsuki's shoulder to support his stature, Shun replied, "No, It's just my muscles are sore from the earlier dives. Shun then looked at the direction of Hiro. Noticing the worry in Hiro's eyes, Shun assured him before Hiro made a fuss about his situation. It's nothing serious. So complete your drill and head inside. Worriedly staring at Shun, Hiro replied, You should still get it checked once. Giving Hiro no chance to speak back, Shun nodded his head and agreed to his suggestion. I'll get it checked. Standing up, Hiro spoke, Then let me support you. Stretching his palm in front, Shun gestured Hiro to stop. You complete your drill. I don't need two people to carry me. While denying Hiro's help, Shun added a joke. I'm not that heavy. After that, Tatsuki and Shun, both of them headed out of the pitch. Watching the sight of two of them leaving the pitch, Hiro began to think about his earlier shortcomings. Although the skill worked perfectly fine, it's still too reckless to use it in real match with my messed up shot accuracy, mumbled Hiro while thinking about his mistake. After finding about his shortcomings in the training with Tatsuki and Shun, Hiro was now troubled by his lack of knowledge on how to solve his problem. Since he wasn't well versed in football training, he had absolutely no idea on how to improve his technique. Letting out a sigh, Hiro mumbled, looking completely disappointed. Damn, I wish I had read about training drills in my past life. Sulking his head, Hiro sighed as he began to think about articles he read in his past life. Stretching exercises to fix ankle injuries, balancing exercise for a better balance, different forms of yoga for healing your injured leg, and so on. Thinking about the articles he read in his past life, he realized that most of the articles were all related to leg injury. Desperate for a cure to fix his legs, he had read many articles on how to cure his once injured legs. While those exercises could increase my flexibility and reduce the chances of injury, but will even work for improving my technique, mumbled Hiro while thinking of implementing those exercises he did in his previous life. Although he could have still tried few things which he had seen or read in his past life, he was still unsure whether those things he saw or read in his past life would actually work for him. Unable to find a good training drill to improve his technique, Hiro sighed in disappointment. Unable to find anything useful, he now had only two options. Either he'd have to rely on YouTube tutorials or else consult his coaches. The former option was almost an impossible thing to pull out, since he'd get his phone only in the weekends and holidays. Thus, consulting his coach was the best option to him for now in his current situation. I guess I'll ask Manager Makoto and Nozomi for their guidance. Mumbling such, Hiro began to walk towards the spot where he had tossed his clothes earlier. Let's call it an end for today. Saying such, he grabbed his clothes. Carrying his clothes, he then headed out of the pitch. While leaving the pitch, he looked at the direction of U15 pitch where the players of U15 were still practicing. Looking at their direction, Hiro felt rather curious about their late-night training. Yuya did mention that their next opponent was quite tough. But I wonder how tough the opposing team would be for Manager Nozomi to grind them till this time. Just like how U18's tournament had started, U15's tournament had also started. And the players of U15 were all busting their ass at that time around, preparing for their match. I wonder if Akashi and my other teammates from Ukami Elementary School are doing well in the Takamoto Cup. Individually, they're all good players. Mumbling such, Hiro looked away and began to walk towards the hostel building. Chapter 159 Words of Encouragement. After consulting with his coaches, for the rest of the week, after the evening training, Hiro stayed overtime to perfect his techniques. Performing several drills under the strict guidance of Manager Makoto, Hiro gave his all into strengthening his flaws. However, the coaches still limited his training from time to time to give him enough time to recover and rest, so as not to overtrain his developing body. Hence, until the arrival of the next match, his routine was quite simple. Waking up at 5 in the morning and heading to the ground for morning training. After finishing the morning training, he washed his body, got his breakfast, and headed to school. After returning from school, he once again washed his body, got his lunch, and headed to the pitch for evening training. And after completing the evening training, he stayed overtime in the pitch for his extra training. Repeating the same course of action, he tried his best to improve his techniques. April 12th, Tuesday, 2023. After the end of the evening training, gathered in the U-18 pitch, players of Kawasaki Frontale U-18 team were standing straight in an attentive position while facing their coaches in front. As you all know, our opponent for tomorrow's game is tougher than the ones whom we faced previously. Looking rather serious, Manager Makoto warned everybody. And despite his warning, players of Kawasaki remained rather calm. As if they were unfazed by his warning, they showed no changes in their facial expression. Looking at their calm and determined faces, Manager Makoto let out a subtle smile. He then continued, "They're currently ranked second in our league, which means they're just below us. And just like us, they've comfortably won their last 2 games." While speaking such, Manager Makoto took few steps in front towards the players. After reaching closer to the players, he stopped all of a sudden. He then began to intently stare at the faces of every player. And just as he finished staring at the faces of every player, he spoke, "Right now, they're below us. And I'm sure that none of you here would want them to surpass us." Manager Makoto then all of a sudden raised his pitch and yelled enthusiastically, "Do any of you want to see them above us?" As if Makoto was some sort of army chief instead of a football coach, he was encouraging his players in a military style. Hearing Manager Makoto's loud yell, a sudden burst of determination kindled inside the heart of players. Determined to crush their opponent in tomorrow's match, all of them enthusiastically yelled at the same time, "No, sir." Upon hearing their loud response, Manager Makoto lifted the corner of his mouth and revealed a satiated expression on his face. While smiling, he praised his players for their show of determination. "Good. With this enthusiasm, I want all of you to win tomorrow's match." Saying such, he turned behind to join other coaches. And just as he was about to walk away, he stopped and turned around once again. The smile on his face faded away as his facial expression turned grim. "I don't want the incident from previous match to repeat ever again. Do you all hear me?" "Yes, sir," the players answered once again, however with much less enthusiasm as compared to a moment ago. "Good." Mumbling such, Manager Makoto gave a approving nod. He then dismissed all the players, including Hiro. Since he had to perform in tomorrow's match, they didn't want to exhaust him. Inside of a brightly lit office, 2 guys were having some discussion with each other. Shin, Marcinho, Kinzuya, Taisei, and including Vice Captain Wakizaka, we have 5 injured players. And among those 5, 3 of them are starters. Spoke a man, probably in his late 40s, while pointing at the whiteboard in front of him. Dressed in khaki pants and white shirt, he was dressed formally. Subtle wrinkles around his eye areas. His face looked unusually young as compared to his age. Smack! All of a sudden, the man in front of the whiteboard slammed his palm on the whiteboard and roared furiously. "With this many injuries, how am I supposed to sustain?" Another guy, probably in his early 40s, who was seated at one of the chairs behind the man dressed in khakis, rose from his seat just as he heard the roar of the man in front. His body trembling, he shuddered while trying to calm the man in front, Manager Aniki. "Why don't you calm down first?" Fearing that he might get hit if he approached the guy in front, he spoke while remaining still at his position. After all, it wasn't his first time seeing the guy in front of him act like that. There were even times when he got hit by the guy in front while he tried to calm him down. The man dressed in khaki pants was the manager of Kawasaki Frontale's senior team. Only 48 years of age, he was one of the most talented young coach in the history of J1 League. Hearing the response of the man, Manager Aniki abruptly turned behind to look at him. And just as he turned behind, a cold sweat ran on the neck of the man who was sitting at the chair a moment ago. Retracting a step back, he nearly fell down. "How could I calm down?" Manager Aniki rebuked. "How do you expect me to calm down? I win them games, and yet they can't even fulfill my transfer request." "Yeah, and mentioning about transfer request, what happened to my request on signing Yuya Osako?" Grumpily asked Manager Aniki. "The club director said that he's too old, so we should instead look for someone younger. He also mentioned that Osako's not worth the investment," meekly answered the guy. Hearing the answer of the man in front, rage started boiling like a tar inside Manager Aniki's body. He's only 32 years old. If he maintains his physique, he can easily perform well for next 4 to 5 years. Aniki tried to reason. Chapter 160 Senior Call-Up. Hearing Manager Aniki's reasoning, the man in front started to rack his mind to think of a suitable answer to appease the anger building up inside Manager Aniki's body. Thinking of an answer, the man suggested hesitantly, "Then why don't we use some youth players for the time being? I heard from Manager Makoto that the youth team is performing really well in the Takamoto Premier League." Upon hearing his suggestion, Manager Aniki sulked his head and remained silent for a while. As if he was thinking of something, he looked like he was lost in a deep thought. While he was lost in his thoughts, surrounding atmosphere around the two of them got eerily silent. Finally, after some moment, Manager Aniki lifted his head and opened his mouth while locking eyes with the man in front. "Maybe we should call Tatsuki until June. And once the transfer market opens in July, we'll bolster our squad with other players. Then I'll send the call-up letter to Manager Makoto." Hurriedly replying, the man then started to search for his phone. While he was searching for his phone, Manager Aniki asked, "Are there any other good seed in the youth team this time around?" Stopping his pursuit of his phone, the man answered, "He told me that we've got a rather excellent player in our youth team this time around." After that, I looked for his matches. And man, I was impressed by his plays. In only 2 matches, he has already registered 6 goals and 2 assists. With his eyes wide open, Manager Aniki replied, sounding all surprised, "There's someone that amazing in our youth team?" "Yes, sir. His name is Takahashi Hiro. If you'd like, I can show you his match highlights," answered the man in front. The name Takahashi Hiro rang a bell as Aniki started feeling nostalgic. Contemplating, he started to think where he had heard that name. And after contemplating for a while, Aniki answered somewhat doubtfully, "Is that kid 12 or 13 years old right now?" "Yes, sir, he's 13 right now." "How did you know?" Sounding all surprised, the man in front questioned while perplexingly staring at Manager Aniki. Massaging his temple, Manager Aniki answered in a regretful manner, "So it was him. Both those old geezers used to brag about this kid during our get-together. I thought that they were only bluffing, so I didn't pay much attention to their words. But who knew that all those bragging stories were true?" And just as he finished his sentence, he removed his hand from his temple and shrugged. "Even so, we still can't use him anyway. So let's not talk about him. Just make sure to inform the youth managers about Tatsuki's call-up for the senior team." Nodding his head, the man in front agreed to his request. Let's end our today's discussion. It's already getting late. Looking at his watch, which he was wearing in his left hand, Manager Aniki concluded the end of their discussion. "Yes, sir." Saying such, the man bid his goodbye and walked towards the door. And just as the man in front of him left the office, Manager Aniki exhaled a sigh of relief. While exhaling a sigh of relief, Aniki whispered under his breath, "I wonder if I could even have an opportunity to use him. With his pace of development, he'll be leaving Japan in no time." Aniki then smiled a little and mumbled again, "Maybe it's best if he leaves for Europe as soon as possible." April 13th, Wednesday, 2022. Aomori Yamada High School ground. At times hiding behind the chunk of dark clouds, and at times coming out of its hiding, it seemed like the sun was playing hide and seek that day. Just like ink splattered on a piece of paper, dark clouds were scattered all over the blue sky, slowly enveloping the whole sky into its color. Those dark clouds were merging together with the help of the wind. Mild wind, which was blowing in the surrounding, was creating whooshing sound every time when it grew stronger. Somewhat humid, a little windy, and a little cloudy. Anyone who could see and feel could tell that rain was unavoidable that day. The venue being located at the residential area was a lot quiet as compared to the ground of Kawasaki, despite the presence of 70-something people in the stand. Arriving early in the venue, Hiro and his teammates were inside their changing room, changing their uniform. Leaning his back against the door frame, Coach Kinsuke was keeping watch on the players. Absent from the locker room, Manager Makoto, who had to deal with some paperwork, was with the officials while Hiro and his teammates were changing into their jerseys. Tying his laces, Hiro stood from his seat after finishing changing into his jersey. Hiro then walked towards the door. Noticing Hiro walking towards him, Coach Kinsuk straightened his back and questioned Hiro, thinking that Hiro was walking towards him to ask for his help. "Do you need my help with something, Hiro?" Letting out a subtle smile, Hiro shook his head and answered, "No, sir. I was just heading to the restroom." "Is that so?" "Ha ha." Smiling awkwardly, he started to make way for Hiro. While making way for Hiro, Coach Kinsuk asked, "But do you know where a restroom is?" "Where is it, sir?" asked Hiro, since it was his first time at that venue. Despite not knowing the location of the restroom, on his way he was planning to ask people for the location of the restroom. However, since Coach Kinsuk offered him his help, he no longer required to trouble himself by asking other people for their guidance. Although he could have directly asked Coach Kinsuk for his guidance, he wasn't sure if Coach Kinsuk would have known about the location of the general restroom either. Go straight and then turn left. Again, follow that path for a while, and at the end of the path at the right side, you'll find the restroom. Did you get it? Pointing towards the path in front, Coach Kinsuk guided him the way to the restroom.